Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Bronx podcast, the inaugural episode of this podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Just quickly, right off the bat, my plans for this is to put out episodes whenever I have something to say. I want this to be a community-based podcast. So if you ever have any questions you want me to answer, or if you want to be featured on the podcast, message me on Instagram. Comment in the YouTube section, anything like that. And I'd love for this to just be community-oriented and just a place for all of us people who love the Yankees to come and talk about the best franchise in the world. Even though we're struggling right now, we are the best franchise in the world. There's nothing quite like the New York Yankees. If you're coming over from my Instagram or my TikTok, thank you for giving the long-form content a chance. And if this is your first time seeing me, like I said, welcome. I'm really happy to have all you guys here. Not going to waste too much time. If you do want the best around-the-clock content, make sure to follow my socials. They'll be in the bottom left of the screen. Bronx Buzz on Instagram and Bronx Buzz 29 on TikTok. But I've got a packed itinerary for today's episode. Obviously, we got to talk about the rough losing streak we've been on lately. But there are some positives in there, especially offensively, so we'll get into all of that in today's episode, and I'm really excited. Just going to get right into it. Alrighty, so obviously we got swept in 4 games at the hands of the Toronto Blue Jays up in the Rogers Center. That put us second in the AL East. For a while there today, after we lost in Game 1 to the Mets, we were third place in the AL East. But luckily, big Harrison Bader, the former Yankee, still loves us, still doing us favors. He walked off the Rays to reinsure that we're still tied for second in the AL East. The Angels and Blue Jays game is about to start as I'm filming this, so I don't know the result of that. When this goes out, you guys probably do. But like I said, the Yankees still just continue to diminish down in the AL East standings. This time last month, we had a 7.5 lead at the top, and people were saying, they could end up winning this division by 11, maybe even 12 games. But hot streaks from teams like the Rays and Blue Jays have put them at the top of the division, and the Yankees in this brutal cold slump have fallen all the way down. So we got our work cut out for us. But obviously, first thing we got to talk about is this slump. General thoughts. It just feels like nothing can kind of go right altogether for the Yankees. When this slump started last month, it was offensively we couldn't score any runs, we couldn't string any hits together. We were just abysmal with runners in scoring position. We're still struggling with runners on, but we're starting to get better, at stringing hits together and putting up rallies, hitting the long ball better, getting back to our identity. But during that brief little offensive stint where we couldn't score any runs, the pitching was lights out, and we had a 6-game losing streak last month, and our pitching during that time had an ERA of sub-2, our starting pitching did. And it's just like, when you're pitching that well, you got to be able to win those ball games, because pitching is up and down throughout the season. It fluctuates a lot, right? So, and now that the offense has started to pick it up, the pitching's fallen off a cliff, especially the bullpen. Over the last 10 games, there's only one team in the MLB who has a worse bullpen ERA than the New York Yankees, and that's the Washington Nationals. That is not some company you want to be in if you're the Yankees, where you've got World Series aspirations this year. You need to sort that out. That's something that we're going to be looking for at the deadline. But yeah, baseball is not a one-faceted game, Right now the offense is working pretty well, but with the pitching being as bad as it's been, with the bullpen being as bad as it's been, we're losing games, we're losing series, on a 5-game losing streak here, despite the offense putting up pretty good numbers. There's nothing video game-like. It's definitely not our best, but it should be enough to at least win 2 or 3 out of those 5 games for sure. Definitely split the series in Toronto, and then today against the Mets, that's a game you gotta win, right? First thing we got to talk about is Luke Weaver, obviously, who gave up the home run today. In 7 games off the injured list since being activated on June 20th in Baltimore, he's given up 4 home runs, and in 4 of his 7 outings, he's given up 2 earned runs or more to an ERA of 13.5. Am I worried about the Dream Weaver? A little bit. His mentality is good. If you watch his interviews, like I said, he said his body's feeling great, and that's why he's disgusted, just because he's not executing his pitches as well as we know he can. I think he's going to be okay in the long run. I've seen some people on social media say that Matt Blake just caught lightning in a bottle, for 1 season, but his stuff's too good. You don't lose that kind of electricity and that, jungle cat mentality that we've come to love in him. He's just missing over the heart of the plate. For the 2 home runs in Toronto off of George Springer, you ran into a red-hot hitter and you left center-cut fastballs, and he didn't miss them. That happens in this game. You move on to today, where we really need a 0 from him, and he comes in for 1 hitter, walks Alonso, and then to McNeil, he leaves a changeup down and in, and that's right in a lefty's wheelhouse, and he takes it yard. McNeil's not a home run hitter, but he put it right into that one, and Weaver, you could just tell as soon as he gave up that homer, Weaver's just like, what do I got to do, I'm not hitting my spots. And for a guy who's so reliant on command and normally has such pinpoint command with his fastball and with his changeup. It's been a really tough time for him. And I don't think it's going to get to him mentally. I think, if anything, it's going to make him want to continue to perform better. And I think he's going to, especially after the All-Star break. Like I said, my mentality right now is just, can we get some going before the All-Star break, And then once we hit the All-Star break, it's like a whole new season, right? You got a couple days off. Obviously, we got Judge going to being a starter in the All-Star game. He's the only All-Star starter for the New York Yankees. We'll obviously have Max Fried and Rodon going as well. But we'll see. If we can just get to the All-Star break, string some wins together. We got to win these next two at Citi Field, and then we go back home for a tough series against the Mariners, and then another tough series against the Cubs. So we got our work cut out for us. But if we can get something going before the All-Star break and string together some wins, this whole first half has a different outlook to it. But yeah, on a positive note from today's game, Dominguez just continues to rake. He's at .417 over his last 15 games, including the 2 homers today, which was great to see him, take those 2 balls to the opposite field, showing his power to all fields as well. 2 low and away fastballs that he just put a jolt into. I mean, he has been so good lately. He's using all parts of the field, and for a little bit there was some concerns about his power. He hadn't hit a homer since I believe it was the end of May, and like I said, 2 homers again today. So he's up to, I believe, 8 on the year. Nothing crazy, but not bad. And he's up in the high 270s for average as well. So having a really good year. And if Jacob Wilson continues to slump for the A's, we're looking at maybe the Rookie of the Year there in Jason Dominguez if he continues to stay hot. So the motion just continuing to rake. He could be the face of the game in 2 or 3 years' time. I mean, he's got those kind of tools. He's that kind of player. He's been swiping bags left and right as well. I think he's 14 for 15 on stolen base attempts this year. So just really, really confident in all aspects of his game right now. And when the pitching continues to improve, because right now the Yankees pitching, the only way it can go is up. I mean, it's been bottom of the barrel type of shit right now. But Dominguez, like I said, he could be the future at the leadoff spot for this season. Was great there today, showing he can steal bases and just taking really mature at-bats. He's got really good control of his strike zone. Like I said, puts the ball to all parts of the field well, with power. So he got all the makings of a perennial leadoff hitter who could go and steal 30 bases and hit 30 homers as well with a 290, 300 average. So really excited for what the future has to hold for the motion. And right now he's one of the top contributors for this Yankees team. And then obviously Aaron Judge, he went back-to-back with the aforementioned J-Dom in the first inning. He's the best hitter in baseball by a country margin. I mean, the face of the game, one of the best hitters we have ever seen in the history of the game. Like, these numbers are just ridiculous. He's hitting .476 with an OBP of .656 and 4 home runs in his last 7 games. Like, does anyone understand how ridiculous that is? Like, we get to witness history on a daily basis, and I feel forever like we're going to underappreciate him just because he is so just unicorn-like. He's one of a kind. There's just no one like him in the sport. Like, I'm actually at a loss for words trying to describe Aaron Judge just because of how absolutely illustrious he has been in the past couple of years. I mean, there's not really much more to say, but we're so lucky to have him, and he's just continuing to rake, and he's getting hot lately, and that's, like I said, when the pitching starts to get it together and hot Aaron Judge to go along with a Yankees lineup that's doing well and a good pitching staff, we could be looking at going on some ridiculous runs down the stretch. So, like I said, I think we have all the makings of a World Series team, but we got to get out of this slump right here. And then Bellinger, Jazz, and DJ LeMahieu have all stayed really solid. Bellinger's hitting .318 over his last 30 games. We saw him go yard again today, adding on to the power stroke, and he went yard on 2 strikes, which is not something you normally see from Bellinger. He shortens up that swing a lot. He's got almost no leg kick on 2 strikes, and he just used his hypermobility, and he got a pitch he liked right in his wheelhouse and took it out into the second deck up at Citi Field. And then for Jazz, 2 hits tonight. He's just been so good since coming off the IL with his 70% approach. He's the second baseman of the future for me. He should be playing second base right now, but that's neither here nor there. LeMahieu continues to be really solid offensively. Last 7 games, .333 average. Like I said, he's a singles hitter. He's not going to go and hit home runs for you. His OPS is around 700, so league average. But sitting around the 260 mark for average, if you could continue to have that production from him, that's a win for LeMahieu. For a guy who's just struggled to keep his legs under him for a couple years now. Having that ability down at the bottom of the lineup to pass the baton, he knows his role to get to Judge, to get to the top of the order. a veteran hitter that knows what he's got to do in certain situations, and he's been pretty good on defense as well. So really happy with what LeMahieu has been contributing. Obviously, Stroman got the start today on the mound, and I've been pleasantly surprised with Stroman so far in his 2 starts since coming off the IL. Another 5 innings today. He gave up the 3 runs, but 4 strikeouts, 7 hits. Just showed signs of being able to continue to get guys out. The execution wasn't as good as it was on Sunday against the A's, but still put us in a position to win a ball game, and we couldn't cut it in the bullpen. The bullpen let him down again. That's been the story of it for the past 7 days or so, with the bullpen just being absolutely horrendous. But he's going to continue to work his pitch count up. He was around 80, 85 today. I think that was his cap. And normally we wouldn't have rushed him back, but with the injury to Yarborough and then Alan Winans just not proving that he's not quite ready for the major league level, we kind of rushed Stroman back, and he's been good. Veteran pitcher. Like I said, doesn't throw hard, but he can get you deep into games. Once he builds up some length, he's a guy that's going to be really useful, I think, down the stretch, especially if he can just continue to be solid, where every time he goes out there, he's putting us in a position. Why do I keep saying petition? In a position to win a ball game. He doesn't need to be a guy that's going to go out there and throw eight scoreless like Fried can do or like Rodon can do. But something like today, 5-6 innings, 2-3 runs, you're putting us in a position to win a baseball game. That's all I can really ask for from Stroman. And he's showed some passion out there, especially with the home plate umpire kind of calling him out for not locking eyes and stuff. I've been really pleasantly surprised with him. So hopefully Stroman can keep it going, keep lowering that ERA, which was once above 10 before he went on the injured list. He's been really good. So at least from my opinion, I know some people weren't happy with how he pitched today. Maybe it's a hot take, but I'm seeing some good stuff from Stroman. Obviously didn't execute as well as he should have on certain pitches, but really impressed with him so far. Someone who I'm not impressed with, and who I don't think anyone in the Yankees fan base is impressed with right now, is Anthony Volpe. Even Aaron Boone kind of showed that he's lost a little bit of faith right now in Volpe. He pinch hit for him later in today's game. Grounded into a double play today in a clutch spot, and you could argue that he made another defensive miscue on the RBI single by Alonso. That ball was hit hard. I think it was 108 off the bat. But he kind of lets it eat him up. It's on the ground. It's getting some bad hops, but it kind of got an upward hop where you got to at least keep that in front of you. You can't let that go off your glove. That costs you a run, and what did you end up winning this game by? Losing this game by 1 run. If you keep that ball in front of you, you don't have to make the play at third. Put Stroman in a position to at least get a ball on the ground, turn 2. We're looking at a completely different ball game. So that's a play that you expect Volpe to at least knock down. He's such a good fielder when he's right, but the miscues the past couple of weeks have been glaring defensively. Obviously, the big 2 in Toronto in the opener there, and then now this today. Low concerned, and offensively, we all know he has not been good lately. 186 over his last 30 games and 143 over his last 7. He starts every day. We need him to kind of figure it out if we're going to continue to get hot down the stretch. We can't have a guy that's what right now feels like an automatic out or a ground ball into a double play kind of guy. That we need him to be able to do some damage with runners in scoring position. He has the most runners left on base in baseball this year. Which that's for those of you that don't know, that's not something you want to be atop the league in, that's for sure. It was nice to see him yesterday in Toronto fight off kind of an inside fastball for an RBI single. You think maybe that's something that will get him going, but another hitless night tonight, some more poor swing decisions. He's got to be better. I think the All-Star break will be good for him. And unfortunately, we do have to talk about the bullpen. Like I said, second worst MLB in the major leagues, behind the Washington Nationals over the last 10 games. We've already talked about Weaver, 13.5 ERA in 7 games since coming off the injured list. For one of our high leverage guys, we need a lot better out of him. Mark Leiter Jr. has one of the worst whips among all qualified pitchers. I think he's been unlucky at times, Moke, this season. A lot of soft contact, a lot of grounders that have just had eyes on him that found holes, and defensive errors have hurt him a little bit. But got to be better. He's getting behind in counts. He's not walking many guys. He's walking more than he normally does. But he's getting behind in counts and leaving stuff over the heart of the plate. So he's getting a lot of hard contact right now. And then with the injuries we've had to the pitching staff, and with starters not going as deep as we needed them to, we've had to rely on guys like Clayton Beeter, JT Brubaker, and Jeff Hartlieb, who none of them have pitched well. Brubaker is still with the big league club, but Beeter and Hartlieb have been sent down. Sandwich is with the big league club right now. I'd like to see us continue to give Efros a chance. I was really impressed with him today. Had really good sinker, good sweeper as well from that funky kind of right-handed angle. Really impressed with him. I believe he made one other appearance against the Angels back in mid-June where he pitched a scoreless inning as well. So I'd like to see us continue to give him a run at it. In his rather short MLB career, he was really good for the Cubs and then really good for us in 2023, I believe. Obviously dealt with the issues with injury the past 2 years, but if he can be right, he could be a good reliever. Right now, the only guys in the bullpen that I trust, ironically, Ian Hamilton, who was the scapegoat for a while, has a .96 ERA in his last 7 games, despite obviously giving up the homer today to Beatty. He's been really good. Been pitching. He's been giving us some length. He threw 1.2 innings yesterday in Toronto, and then he was asked again to pitch today, and he only gave up the 1 run. Not bad. Tim Hill has just continued to do what he's done since he came over last year. Been a lefty killer. Only lefty in the bullpen. He gets a lot of innings. He's used almost every single day. 1.29 ERA over his last 15 games. And then you look at it, Loizaga has also started to put it together. I mean, he dealt with the long ball struggles when he first came back from the injured list, and when he had the illness, he wasn't great as well. But season ERA of 3.54 and 4 straight scoreless appearances, he's able to give us some length as well. But you really miss Yerry De Los Santos, who had become the kind of low leverage, give you multiple innings guy, and he was pitching really well. And then obviously now he's dealing with that elbow issue. What's called. You obviously miss Jake Cousins as well, who was one of our premier relievers last year. I mean, his sweeper is just disgusting. But the bullpen, we've got a run of games here. The All-Star break will be good for them. It's struggling. We need some length out of Rodon and Fried over the next couple days, and we just need to get to Devin Williams. I think the problem is we're not getting to Devin Williams, right? We obviously Devin pitched on Wednesday and gave up the 2 runs. But he's been so good over the past month and a half. I mean, he's our closer for a reason. There's a reason we traded for him in the offseason. You can't deny the quality he has. When he's right, he's one of the best closers around, and he's started to right the ship after that torrid start. So we need to be able to bridge to him and just, be able to close out games. And right now we're not doing that. The problem is, the 6th inning, 7th inning, 8th inning, we're just giving up way too many runs, and comeback attempts, rallies, it all kind of goes to shit when you're giving up runs late in ball games, so we got to right the ship in that regard. Luckily, that's all that we have to talk about today's game. Thank God, especially after the loss in Toronto. Losing again today was a real punch in the gut. But tomorrow we got Rodon going on at 4:10 p.m. Eastern Time. Rodon versus Montes. Frankie Montes, former Yankee, as we all know, just terrible acquisition. I mean, he barely pitched to us, and when he did, he wasn't great. He's made 2 starts so far this season after dealing with some early injuries. He's got an ERA of 6 in 9 innings. He struck out 10. So Montes is a good pitcher when he's right, but we got to get to him early. Still, like I said, not completely settled this season with his stuff. Obviously, missing the significant portion of the early season. If we can get to him, we can put up a pretty crooked number, especially with their depleted bullpen as well. But you'd think guys like Edwin Diaz will be ready tomorrow. So, if we're losing in the 9th, it's going to be tough. We got to get a lead and hold on to it, which has been the problem's been holding on to it. We've been coming back well, and we've been hitting the ball well at times, but we've been selling our lead with late in the game with the bullpen. I feel like a broken record saying it. On Sunday, we got Fried going against. Right now, we don't know. It's probably going to be a minor league level pitcher for the Mets, or they're going to have to do a bullpen game. Obviously, the suspension of the game they had a couple days ago, where they had to play a doubleheader against the Brewers yesterday, that really hurt their pitching staff. They're shorthanded right now, so we got to take advantage of that. Obviously, it sucks to suck, but they're the little brother for a reason. We got to beat them, right? So, Fried has been so good this season, 10-2 with a 2.13 ERA. Last time out in Toronto, he gave up the 4 runs. Uncharacteristically, he gave up the 2 long balls as well. But he had a really good start after his only other rough start of the season at Dodger Stadium. He had a really good start after it, and 6 innings and 4 runs isn't a terrible start by any means, but it's bad for his lofty standards. So I'd be expecting a big bounce back start on Sunday. But my key points for the rest of the series is I like our chances in these next 2 games. I'm always optimistic, but we really need these 2. We got our 2 big dogs against the Mets, kind of bottom barrel guys, especially on Sunday. They're throwing out, TBA right now. So we really need to take these 2 games. A series win would do us a world of good as we go back home for a tough series against the Mariners, followed by another tough series against the Cubs. And then another big point for me is we need to figure it out in the bullpen. That's all there is to it. The offense has got to keep going, right? It's obviously a sucker punch when you think you're fighting back from these deficits. You're hitting clutch home runs. You're starting to string together some hits, and you continue to lose. It can be really easy to kind of hit the panic button and continue and go back to that offensive slump we were in. But we got to keep it going. We got to continue to try to, just wait for our pitchers to put it together. So we need the offense to keep going there. And then another note I have that I just wanted to touch on a little bit is I've seen a lot of people on social media compare this 2025 Yankees team to the team in 2023 when we didn't make the playoffs and I believe we won 82 or 83 games. No, this is not that team. We have way too much quality to have the collapse that team had. I mean, if you think back to 2023, we were giving regular at-bats to guys like Billy McKinney, Willie Calhoun, Franchi Cordero Jr. Those are bottom-of-the-barrel names. And we were also starting Domingo Germán. We were relying on guys like Joni Brito, guys that those guys could have fallen off the face of the earth by now, and we were giving them regular playing time in the New York Yankees uniform back in 2023. So I don't think this team is like that at all. We're far too good. We just got guys that are in a slump right now. Goldschmidt has obviously been going through a brutal month. Volpe, like I talked about, has been bad. But once we get going, I think this team's going to be really hard to stop. I truly do think we're obviously the best team in the American League East. Despite what the standings say right now, we're going to end up winning this division, and I believe pretty comfortably once we get some deadline acquisitions and we start to find our footing again. I believe we have a chance at the World Series this year. Jeter said it best: to win a World Series, everything kind of needs to go right, and right now everything is going wrong. So hopefully our time comes due at the right time, come October. So yeah, I don't give those takes, those claims, any validation. I don't give them the light of day. That's just fans that are panicking a little bit and hitting that panic button. So I wouldn't worry about that. This team's far too good. Boone even sat down with the guys last night and said that they're the best team in baseball, and they should be unfazed by this, rough patch or whatever. Whether we're the best team in baseball or not, that's obviously subjective. We've definitely got some of the best players in baseball, and when we're playing right, I do think we could be the best team in baseball. But you got teams like the Dodgers, the Phillies are tough, even the Mets right now, despite the fact they're slumping a little bit. They're a good team as well. But yeah, just to sum it up, this team is nothing like the 2023 Yankees. I mean, there's a reason that season was such an anomaly. It was a one-off, and we immediately went and changed things, getting Juan Soto, because that kind of season is unacceptable for the Yankees, and we've got a long way to go left. I know that comparison-wise, you could look at it and say, like, well, we had a similar record going into the All-Star break in 2023, and we ended up, with an 82-80 record or whatever it was. But Judge got hurt that year. Well, you got to think about it. Without Aaron Judge, our lineup is vastly diminished. So as long as Judge stays healthy, knock on wood, obviously, I think we'll have no problem winning the American League East, maybe winning the pennant. I mean, maybe winning the American League regular season, but, with the way the Tigers are playing, that looks to be tough. I think we're the favorite to win the pennant. I really do think this team is built for October. They get hot at the right time. There's no reason we can't take the whole thing this year. So yeah, like I said, not worried about that at all. Don't give those thoughts the light of day, guys. We got way too much season left to be comparing us to the 23 Yankees. Don't worry. I wouldn't be worried about that at all. Next up on my agenda is my response to the Fire Boone and Fire Cashman trending hashtags all over Twitter and Instagram and everything like that. You can't blame Boone right now for what's going on. I mean, did he make some questionable decisions? I think the only decision that I didn't agree with was not walking Barger on Wednesday against the Blue Jays. He obviously did some damage there. But other than that, a lot of times when you're slumping, it's guys that just aren't executing, right? I mean, Boone's a good manager. He fights for his guys. Cashman, I think, is going to go out and be aggressive at the deadline this year. I think he's going to address what needs to be addressed, and I think we're going to have a really good second half. One of the best second halves out of any team. You think about the impact Jazz had last year when he came over at the deadline. It completely changed the dynamic of this team. Do I think we're going to go and get a player of Jazz's quality at this deadline? No. But a lot of the times it's just new blood, new personality in the clubhouse. We add a bat, we add maybe a starter, some bullpen guys. this team looks a whole lot different. So that brings me into my next point, which is the rumors that have been circulating going into this trade deadline. Infield-wise, we've been linked with 4 names. This is courtesy of John Heyman of the New York Post, so if you want the full article, go check that out. The third baseman mainly is what we've been linked with. It looks like we want to move Jazz over to second, and then that's obviously where he's best defensively. And then we would have the new infielder, whoever it may end up being, play third base. So names that the Yankees have been linked with at the hot corner: Brian Hayes, Eugenio Suarez, Ryan McMahon, and Luis Rengifo. Obviously, the dream option offensively is Suarez of the D-backs, who's been one of the best run producers in baseball this year. He's top 4 in homers and in RBIs in the entirety of Major League Baseball. His contract's expiring at the end of the year. Do I love getting rentals? No. But do I think that if we do end up getting Suarez, that is what it would be? Probably, especially given that we're probably going to be all in on Munetaka Murakami come when he hits the market from the NPB. So Suarez is 33 years old as well. Rather low on base percentage. He strikes out a lot, doesn't walk too much. But he's still hitting 250. Like I said, one of the best run producers around, really great power, having one of the best offensive seasons of his career. But something to note with that is he did speak to Ken Rosenthal of The Athletic, and he said that he was really happy in Arizona. He loves his time with the D-backs. It's where he wants to be. But he does understand baseball's business. That is a direct quote. He said that. So I think if he does end up being traded at the deadline, it would surprise me, especially because the D-backs are still in a pretty decent spot when it comes to wild card contention. They're obviously not where they'd want to be. But with the injury to Corbin Carroll and Corbin Burns as well, they're doing pretty well. But should they skate a little bit, would they be open to sell? Maybe. You'd have to give a lot better return for Suarez than you would for some of these guys. But offensively, it'd be the dream option. But the problem is he's been one of the worst third basemen defensively. Baseball Savant gives him a -5 outs above average as well. And he's got an okay arm, but nothing spectacular. Clearly not as good an arm as Jazz. But, I don't know. I think it would definitely help the lineup, but the issues with the defense and with, the miscues that have been happening lately would still persist if we did get Suarez. I doubt we'll see him in pinstripes, but it is known that they have an interest, that Brian Cashman does have an interest, but there hasn't been any contact between the two teams, according to Heyman. That's not because of a lack of interest. That's more so because of how the D-backs are doing at the moment, and their what would be unwillingness to sell if they're still in a good spot to maybe make the playoffs this year. So that's that for Suarez. Next up is Brian Hayes, the best defender in baseball at third base, completely opposite side of the spectrum as Suarez. He's a perennial Gold Glover. I mean, some of the plays he makes are absolutely incredible. He's the best defender in baseball, according to Baseball Savant, at third base. I mean, he's just ridiculous. And it's known the Pirates will be sellers at the deadline. I mean, they're just atrocious. Even with their hot streak, they're still one of the worst teams in baseball. He's on a 12-game hit streak. His numbers aren't as good as he has been. I mean, he's a very talented player offensively and defensively, but he's having a down year at the plate. But he's on a 12-game hit streak. It seemed like he's starting to maybe figure something out, so we could get him for maybe a decent return. We'd have to give them obviously something, but if we could get him, I think he would slide in seamlessly, play really good defense, and if he could hit 250, 260, and hit a couple extra base hits here and there, I would take that. I think that makes our team a lot better all the way around. And then one guy that the Yankees have had conversations with, one team, is the Rockies regarding Ryan McMahon, who I feel like a broken record bringing up McMahon and the Yankees. I mean, we literally have been linked to him at every deadline for what feels like the past 5 or 6 years. He's on a $70 million contract, under team control for a couple more years, so this would not be a rental. He's having the worst year of his career at the plate. I mean, he's striking out way too much. He still hits the ball hard when he makes contact, but and he still takes his walks, and he plays good defense as well. I mean, he also brings decent value on the bases. He's a smart base runner. He doesn't steal bases, but he doesn't run into outs, which has been a problem with the Yankees in the past as well. You wouldn't have to give much for him for the Rockies, I don't think, especially given their just torrid record. I mean, I don't even know how a team is capable of being that bad. And the fact that he's having a down year, they could shed some payroll and start to rebuild a little bit. So he's definitely, I think he moves this year at the deadline, whether he goes to the Yankees or not. I think he's definitely not going to be wearing a Rockies uniform for much longer, and he wouldn't be a very popular trade, I don't think. I made an Instagram post about it when Heyman reported the rumors of the conversations going on with the Yankees and Rockies. I got some comments saying that he would fit right in because he's hitting like 215 or whatever. So um, sometimes a change of scenery is good for players. If he could hit, like I said, 250, 260, he does have a lot of power. I mean, he hit a damn near 500-foot homer the other day. Um, he could be a really good addition for the Yankees. A 6 or 7 guy in the lineup who plays good defense. That would be really helpful for them. And he could, obviously he's got good opposite field power as well. So a swing that could work really well at Yankee Stadium. And if it changes scenery, it could get him to start hitting 250, 260 again. I would love that. I mean, obviously, not much can please Yankees fans right now, but yeah, I think Ryan McMahon would do a lot better than his numbers show in the Bronx if we do end up getting him. And then next up is Luis Rengifo, who I that's another one where I just think he's kind of a stretch. I mean, good ball player, sure. Would he help the Yankees? Absolutely. But are the Angels going to be willing to sell? Probably not. I mean, they're still in contention for the wild card. The American League wild card is a lot more open. I mean, I shouldn't say a lot more open, but a lot less competitive than the National League wild card in the sense that the team that makes the last wild card spot in the last wild card spot in the American League will probably only win 80 to 85 games. So the Angels right now are sitting right at 500. They got a chance. So it could be tough to convince them to sell one of their best players at the deadline. But he would help the Yankees as well. I think the most likely option at third base is going to be K. Brian Hayes, and that's the one I want. I want to see a guy that plays good defense and a guy that's starting to put it together at the plate. And you probably wouldn't have to give up much to get him either. So I think he's the best option. That's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. But I think that's also the most likely one, especially given the Pirates being as bad as they are. And then when it comes to bullpen help, we've been linked with a host of names. Obviously, there's always a ton of relievers available at the deadline. But the most ambitious ones are Ryan Helsley and Joan Duran. Helsley, obviously, of the Cardinals, and Duran of the Twins. Helsley, we've been linked to quite extensively. We actually were pretty, intertwined with him during this offseason. But the Cardinals have surprisingly been very good this year. I believe they're 47 and 42 at the time of filming. And it'd be doubtful that they would be willing to deal their closer at the deadline. But he would be a great addition. I mean, he would be absolutely phenomenal. He'd probably go into the closer role, if not be one of our high leverage guys, but we'd have to give up a truckload to get him. So, Joan Duran would be more on the market than Helsley. He's not having as good of a year as he has been accustomed to, and the Twins are not very good. They're still okay, but do I believe they'll make the playoffs this year? No. I think they'd be open to selling at the deadline, especially if they continue to kind of skate a little bit, but Duran's got such electric stuff. I mean, he threw a splitter at 100 miles an hour. Like, do we really need to say anything else? I mean, great fastball, great splitter, pretty decent curveball as well. So if he could figure out his command, he's unstoppable at times. I mean, when he's on, absolutely unhittable. Would be absolutely phenomenal for the Yankees, but again, would have to give up a pretty decent amount for him. And then also another name that we've been linked to of the Angels, Reed Detmers, lefty. Right now, the only lefty in the bullpen is Tim Hill, so poor guy's getting quite a lot of work in. And Detmers has been really good ever since being moved to the bullpen. He's one of the Angels' high-leverage guys. Do I see us being able to get him? I think it's more likely we get him than Rengifo. But like I said, I think the Angels would be reluctant to sell one of their high-leverage relievers who's really been on a tear, especially as of late, and also just having a very good season in general at the deadline when they're still in and around that last wild card spot. So I would love to have him, but doubt it happens. Another name, Jake Bird of the Rockies, is having a really good year in a torrid Rockies bullpen. So he's going to be available at the deadline. I mean, it's known that the Rockies, who are normally not willing to sell, are listening just because of how bad they are. And he pitches at Coors Field, so he's still having a really good year. So if he comes over to the Yankees, he'd be probably a 6th or 7th guy. 6th or 7th inning guy, that is, but he'd be great. I think that's what we need. I would love to have him. Wouldn't have to give up too much, but I just think he would fit right in. And another righty, we could use more lefties, but you'd imagine when Yarborough comes back, he'd probably be more suited to going into the bullpen, especially when Schmidt comes back off the IL. Hopefully it's not too long for Schmidt on the IL, obviously placed on the 15-day today. And then when Hill comes back, probably late August, maybe mid to late August or September, Yarborough will be in the bullpen as well. But yeah, that's about all I had to cover today. Just wanted to figure out some closing thoughts here. Stay positive. I know we're in a slump, but it's our second 5-game losing streak of the year. We didn't have a single one last year, but we're gonna get through it. I mean, there was a month last year where we had a worse record than the White Sox. So, and we ended up going and winning the pennant, going to the World Series. So, I've got a lot of faith in this team. I think we're better than last year's team. Like I said, we're not the 2023 Yankees, I promise. We're going to play out of it. We just need to have some more positivity around the franchise. I don't want to see as much hate and just general, like, oh, I'm done with this team, sell the team, fire everybody, DFA, send them all to Kazakhstan or whatever. I don't want to see as much of that. I think we need to be a little bit more positive and realize that we're still in a good spot. It's still very early on in the grand scheme of things. We're just over halfway through the season. We're not even to the All-Star break yet. So, and a lot of baseball left to be played, and we're going to figure it out, especially once we get some deadline acquisitions coming in. But just stay positive. We're going again tomorrow. Another day game, two day games in a row before a tough series back at the stadium. So keep the faith. Keep rooting on the Yankees. Thank you for tuning in. Please do subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed it. Leave a like rating as well. Follow the socials, as always. I know I'm just shamelessly plugging, but please do. It would mean a lot to me. And like I said, comment or DM me on Instagram if you have any questions or want to be featured on the podcast. I would love to have this be more community-based than most other podcasts. But thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate it. And I'll see you next time. And as always, go Yankees.